Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meeple Leaf Reviews. I'm Jeffrey.
I'm Jacob.
And today we're doing a full review of Anachrony. Now, this is a game that we did a before and after for.
We sure did.
So if you haven't checked that out, it's releasing the same day, so
Yes.
Go over and have a look.
Yeah, and that will be our first impressions and expectations before we play.
And this is our full review after we've played it many times.
Yes.
So, jumping right in with art and components. I really like the artwork in this game. The components are really nice, especially I have the Kickstarter edition with the miniatures. Different sculpts for the different miniatures is really cool. The one piece of artwork that I don't like is the actual people, the characters that are drawn. Everything else I think is phenomenal.
It's a different style, whereas I really like the landscape art. I think that's my favorite. Each of the player boards has this big kind of landscape in the background. Beautiful. Love it. Components, yeah, they're all great, except I will say that the acrylic little tokens that come with the Kickstarter edition, they are transparent or translucent, and in poor lighting, they're very hard to tell apart. I think anyone with color blindness would not be able to figure out what was what.
So the theme for this game is kind of post-apocalyptic. There's these different ideologies you're competing against, and there's a asteroid impact coming. Right. And you're trying to prepare and have your capital be the new capital for the Earth.
The new world.
So you're competing against these different ideologies. There's also a time travel element where this asteroid coming has this neutrinium that makes it so you can actually send things back through time.
Yeah, very cool.
Do you feel the theme in this game?
I generally don't, because I feel that there's too much analysis paralysis, and I'm just focused on everything else that's going on in the game. I'm immersed in the mechanics, and therefore I'm not drawn in by the theme.
The thing that makes me feel the theme the most is this whole warp phase.
Definitely.
Where you can have the tokens and you're getting resources right now, but they stay on the board on the timeline, and you're going to have to travel back and pay those resources back potentially. Otherwise, you're making different paradoxes and anomalies that you're going to have to clean up.
Which is such a cool mechanism.
Yeah, I definitely feel the theme with that. I think the whole mechanism of that relates very well to the time travel theme and does it very well. But I don't feel immersed in the theme while playing. Like you said, I'm focused on the mechanisms. I'm trying to get things accomplished on my player board.
There's no time for that. It's too complicated.
Yeah. Maybe in the future we'll have to.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
The rules and
Expansion
teaching.
Expansion token. Have fun.
The rules and teaching, I read the rulebook. I thought the rulebook was very well done. I was able to learn the game very easily from it and able to teach it very easily without having to constantly go back and reference, because the iconography is very well done on the board. A lot of reminders for what everything does. I've taught the game twice. First time was 24 minutes. The second time was 21 minutes.
Right.
So it can be a little bit longer to teach.
Yeah, I felt from the learning side of things, that length of time, my attention waned here and there. So I missed a few key rules in that first game, and therefore you're going to have to watch what other people are doing, kind of like a hawk, to make sure they're getting everything right.
Yeah.
But then there's so much going on in the game that you don't really have time to do that. You're focused on all the choices that you have to make.
Right. So, jumping into the meat.
The meat.
And potatoes.
Yeah.
The gameplay and mechanisms for Anachrony.
Right.
So, above everything else, this game is a worker placement game.
Yes.
The thing that it does that I really enjoy is that it's kind of a two-layer worker placement. You have your own player board where you're going to be building up worker action spots, as well as there's a main board where people are going to be competing for different actions. But in order to take those actions on your main board, you just can't place your worker there. It's and this is another place where I think the theme of the Earth is post-apocalyptic. You need
There's radiation everywhere.
Yeah,
you need protection.
You need to protect them in exosuits so that you can go out and take those action slots. And it's quite difficult to power up those.
Oh, yeah. Takes a lot of resources to power those things up and get them out there.
So I really like that. I like that two-layer nature, how some actions are both being competed for as well as more difficult to take.
Right. The one thing about your own player board that you're building up, it starts off with almost no actions at all, and so your focus is on that primary board, and then you're going to take construction actions to build these things in your own tableau, and then that will open up new action spots for you. So there's a lot of a challenge of blocking people in that central board. in the beginning of the game, essentially, or more so when you're having a 3 or 4 player game than in a 2-player. In the 2-player game we had, there was just not too much blocking. There was always something available, always a place that you could go to get what you needed to get done.
Yeah, I definitely felt there was more player interaction in the 3-player by just taking up those different action spaces. The other thing about because you're building like a tableau, it makes you feel different than the other players. Not only are your ideologies asymmetrical, but as you're building through the game, you are different in what you're able to do based on the buildings that you build, which I enjoyed as well. Yeah. Because at the end of the game, I'm able to do all these cool things because I planned and build up towards doing those things. Yep. You did not plan and build it quite as well, so I'm bringing home the bacon.
That's right.
Or the water in this game, and you're suffering.
Yeah, the asymmetry is a neat feature of the game. There are 4 rows of buildings that you can build, and only specific buildings can go into each row, so you're limited to what's available. And most of those buildings there's only 1 or 2 of each type in the game, so the first person to grab them, no one else is going to have access to it unless the other one somehow comes up.
Right, so how did you feel about the inherent asymmetry in the different ideologies?
There was a little bit. Your starting setup, you're getting different resources. You have the special faction, character powers. There's quite a few little things, but it's just that. It's little details. Right. It's not huge, epic changes that you're doing something that I feel is overpowered and I'm doing something that you feel is overpowered. That's not happening.
You're still playing the same game. It's not like they're so asymmetric that you're just playing a completely different game.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I quite like the asymmetry because it makes you approach the game differently each time you play based on the faction that you're playing. Yeah. So I quite enjoyed that part of it as well.
It was good.
The thing about the asymmetry as well is that there's this evacuation condition. Because eventually the impact is going to happen, and you're going to have to evacuate people from the capital and try and get them essentially to your capital, so then you can basically just score a bunch of points.
Right. So you can get big points.
And it is a lot of points. In the games that we played, it's anywhere between 40 to 25% of your
endgame score.
Of your endgame score comes from this one action you take in the game. And it has a requirement plus some bonuses that you can get. I felt that the game was kind of just directing me into what I should do based on the faction that I played. Right. So it didn't feel like, oh, I have this faction, I can explore different things using this faction. It was, oh, I'm playing this faction, this is what I need to focus on doing.
Right. And that's a big part of this game is I feel like you have to do everything the game is telling you to, and if you don't, you're penalized heavily. I felt we had one game where 2 people didn't finish their evacuation, and not even close. The other player doubled their scores. Right. So it is a heavy cost, and then along with that, you have the end game scoring. There's 3 cards,
5 cards,
or 5 cards, yes, that
3
each
points.
have 3-point value on them. That is directing you again, like you were saying, towards Kate. You need to do this, and if you do, you're getting 3 points at the end of the game. So again, you are focused. The game is telling you this is what you have to do.
Yeah, I definitely feel that it's not a game that I can sit down, take what I have, and try and explore and try different things.
Exactly.
Especially with how the buildings come out. Usually there's only 2 available, maybe it's only 1, and it's random. Like there's a stack, and you'll be pulling them off the top of the stack. So it's not like I can go and be like, oh, I want to try this strategy. I'm beholden to the buildings that are available during the game, and I can't customize on the fly to what I want to do. I just have to do what's in front of me, and I need to take that and try and fulfill my ideological evacuation goal, as well as these endgame scoring tiles. It's not like a free-for-all open to what you want to do.
Yeah, it's really just a game of efficiency where you're just doing the best you can with what the game's throwing at you.
Yeah, and
here are the guidelines that you have, and here's the guidelines this person has.
Yeah, exactly. It's not... I wanted more exploration. I wanted more variety. I mean, there's some things in the game that I think you could ignore. The super projects, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
They can be quite expensive and take some time to be able to build. And because you have to build them in the leftmost slots of your player board, it means you can't build those types of buildings until later. So it's just more difficult, I found. So most times they were just too much trouble that I just ignored them.
Yeah. We won't go into details of how exactly they work, but they have to go in the left-hand slot before you build anything else in that slot. So and they're so hard to build. And you have to take a specialty action to get a special resource in order to build them. And you get nothing else for that resource except a point at the end of the game if it's unspent.
Right.
Whereas all the other actions in the game are giving you something really good and usually a bonus along with that something really good.
Right. Another cool thing about the game is rather than just having generic workers, you have workers of different types.
Yeah, very cool.
So managing how you spend those workers to do what different actions, because some of them can't take certain actions, some of them get bonuses for different actions.
Very cool.
So
I love that.
Yeah, I like that part of the game. The other thing that I liked about the worker management was because of those exosuits, you need to put them on in the exosuits to put them on the main board, as well as you only have limited worker spots on your tableau.
Yeah.
If you have 20 workers, it doesn't mean you get to take 20 actions.
No. You have to have the worker locations available for them to take.
Exactly. So I liked that part of the game as well. The warp phase, where this is where you're going to be taking resources from the future that you might have to pay back. I initially thought that was really cool, and then I kind of went through a phase where I was like, okay, this is not that great. Because what I found I was doing was okay, I'll take a gray cube.
Yeah.
And then the next phase I would travel back and I would pay the same gray cube I just took.
Right.
I find...
So you're not getting anything.
No.
The only purpose is that you're moving along the time track to gain victory points. So that whole action it's a convoluted action of I get 2 points.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then I started using it more as, what do I need right now that I can't get access to?
Sure.
When you use it in that way, also when we played with the variant where you flip over the timeline tiles and there's different bonuses or negatives based on when you put out your warp tokens and in the player order, I found that made the whole warp phase much more interesting.
Yeah, definitely a lot more interesting. There's negatives and there's positives on there, so you're constantly guessing how many is this person going to put out, how many am I going to put out, because you do it hidden and then you all reveal at the same time and then you move along this track, and if your token lands on a bonus, then you get that bonus. The problem that I see there is that the first player knows exactly what they're going to get, if they're getting a bonus or not.
Yeah.
The second player, they're hedging their bets.
Right.
Third and fourth player, they're a fart in the wind. No idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, and also that flipping those timeline tiles over, I found made turn order much more important.
Yeah.
To take, because then you have more control over what bonuses you could get.
Right.
Whereas I found in the 2-player game, I wasn't that overly concerned about being first player and paying the extra water cost to get it.
Yeah, it's a nice benefit if you're planning to build something and you want to build it before someone can. Yeah. But other than that, the turn order isn't a huge deal.
All right, so are you ready for final thoughts for Anachrony?
Sure.
So I'll start off.
Okay.
I'm going to give this game a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. I think it's a good game. Like, the mechanisms I feel are solid, and the way things interact I think is really good. However, I feel the game is just directing me too much in what I need to do. Yeah. Like I said, with the whole evacuation from my ideology, makes up a huge portion of my points. So when I sit down to play it, it's not like, oh, here's all this fun space I have to explore. It's like, oh, this is what I'm doing this game.
Yes.
This is what I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Same thing with those endgame scoring cards. This is what I should be trying to save up or try to do during this game. So I just felt it very restrictive, as well with the whole way you can build buildings.
Yeah.
So, good game. Cool things going on. I feel engaged the whole time I'm playing.
Sure.
But I'm just working towards the goal that the game has set for me.
Yeah. I'm basically exactly the same. I'm giving it a 6, and for all the same reasons. I feel this game has you walking on a tightrope. And if you see something over here, you want to go over there, you're going to get slapped on the wrist, you're going to fall off, you're going to die, because you're missing out on all these bonuses that the game's telling you that you're going to get if you go do this. And if you don't, then you're not getting those points and you're going to lose. Yeah,
essentially it's not like it's so much as you're following along the same path, like I go A, B, C, D, E every time, but you have to do all those letters by the end of the game.
Exactly.
So you could
You
start
have to do every letter in the alphabet. It's just do it in any order you want.
Yeah, but at the end of the game, you still have to have done all of those.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Anachrony. Don't forget to go down and like and subscribe to your YouTube channel. We always appreciate when you do so.
And in this description, if I can say that word, the description down below, we're going to have a link to our website where we have our podcasts available, where we talked about games for 3, 4, 5 hours.
We haven't hit 5 yet, but we'll get there.
2 to 3 hours.
All right, see you guys next time.
Take care.